Hi, everybody. Chris Englebert with Englebert Financial Advisers in beautiful Allentown, Pennsylvania with the latest Englebert angle. And we kind of have a serious topic to discuss today, how to protect your assets during a divorce. Now, it's not a fun subject to talk about, but hey, there's always relevant history. And one of the things that people don't realize is that divorce was a lot worse way back when. So in medieval times, the way the Germans would end a marriage is husbands and wives would settle a dispute through a marital duel. The man fought with one arm tied behind his back while in a hole. The woman wore weighted cloth and used a sack of rocks as her weapon. If they couldn't resort and come up with a conclusion on how they were going to resolve their divorce, the consequences were severe. The husband would be beheaded and the wife would be buried alive. So that's how they ended things in the old days. Hopefully, if you're watching this video and you're seeing a divorce on the horizon, that's not in your future. But anyways, what we really want to talk about here is we want to talk about some very simple things that you should focus on in a divorce. And we get these calls all the time. The number one thing you do not want to do if you're about to go through a divorce or in a divorce is have any type of joint account. I cannot tell you how many times I get somebody coming in and going, hey, yeah, my wife and I are separated. We've got $12,000 in our checking account, in our joint checking account. And oh my gosh, they just wrote a check for $10,000 and took the $10,000 out of the joint checking account. A joint checking account means that either party can wipe out the account at any time. So if you're in the midst of a divorce, contemplating a divorce, have an account in your own name. Now, sometimes people say, we have a joint account to be able to pay the bills. And if that's the case, you only put the minimal amount of money that you want to have to pay those bills. But realize if you put a couple $1,000s in that account to pay the bills, the spouse could go in and empty that account out and the bills not get paid. So joint accounts are bad. Joint investment accounts are also bad from the standpoint that there are many stories I can tell you of two individuals going through a divorce. They have a joint investment account. One spouse calls up the advisor and says, liquidate the account, send me a check. They've got to do that because both people have control over the account. The other thing that people don't think about is joint credit cards. I've seen numerous situations where people have come up and said, hey, I'm going through a divorce. My spouse has racked up $30,000 of credit card debt. Now, sometimes you can get around this. And again, this is not legal advice. Make sure you retain an attorney. But depending upon whether it was used as a marital asset, like let's say you racked up $10,000 in credit card debt, doing home improvements, that may or may not be treated differently than if you use $10,000 to go buy a Louis Vuitton bag or something like that. So again, joint accounts are bad. And if you're contemplating a divorce or going through a divorce, you should not have joint accounts. The other thing is you got to protect your retirement account. So if you have a 401k, 457 or 403b, you may have to give up a portion of this to what's called a quadro. So when you get the divorce decree, if there's retirement assets that need to be split up, we get a copy of the quadro. Make sure the quadro is written properly. I've seen many very poorly written quadros. Many attorneys don't specialize in writing quadros. What's a quadro? Qualified domestic relations order that says how retirement assets are supposed to be split up. So the quadro, if I get a quadro and somebody's got a $200,000 IRA and it says in the quadro that the spouse gets $100,000 of that, we then open up an IRA. The quadro then causes the IRA to be split in two, half of it in one spouse, half of it in the other, depending obviously upon your percentage that you split up. Now, if you have a retirement plan like a 401k, 457 or 403b, what you may want to do, I would suggest, is that you change your investment strategy. Right now, short-term fixed income is paying 4 to 5%. Maybe you want to move temporarily, or at least until the divorce is over, all the assets so that they don't go up and down in value, due to stock market conditions. Why would you do that? Because many times how much you have to give up out of your 401k, 457 or 403b is as of the date of separation. So make sure if the date of separation is June 30th, 2022, you print out how much that account was worth on June 30th of 2022. Now, why would I get the account very conservative? Well, if the account goes down, let's say you have a $200,000 401k and you lose 50 grand of it, you still have to give up 50% as of the date of separation. So if it's gone down by 50 grand, you may have to give up 100 grand. You only have 50 grand left. Not a very pleasant situation. So many times if people are contemplating, separation, change what you're doing with your 401k, 457 or 403b. So keep track of the date of separation. But the other thing you want to do is don't stop contributing. Sometimes people mistakenly say, hey, if I keep contributing, she's going to get, or he's going to get half of what I contribute. That's not true. Again, the marital asset is based upon date of separation. If you stop contributing, what's going to happen is your tax bill or how much you're going to pay in taxes could increase dramatically. So you don't want to have that happen. So keep contributing. But again, talk about changing the asset allocation of your 401k, 457 or 403b, and make sure as of date of separation, you know what the values of these are. Lastly, but not least, it's not like suing a big company. Even in contentious divorces, I have seen tens of thousands of dollars wasted by both parties nitpicking, trying to get something that they're really not going to get in the end. Most of the time in your legal expenses in a divorce, it's what they call discovery, where one party's asking the other party, I want to see what their pension is. I want to see what their 401k is. And the attorneys are gathering all of that information. And guess what? They're charging you hourly to do that. So the more information you have and the more information you can give your attorney, the better off you're going to be. So they're not spending unnecessary time trying to find out what both parties have, because again, the clock is ticking. This is not a large company where, hey, we have unlimited money to sue somebody else and get this. Your family assets are your family assets. And the more money you spend on legal fees means there's less, obviously, to eventually split up. So these are just some few tips and tricks to protect yourself in divorce. It's not a pleasant thing to go through. Make sure you retain a good attorney that specializes in divorce. Make sure your attorney has a game plan, as far as what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, because typically, men are concerned about, financial assets. Women are concerned about the family, but you've got to come to some kind of conclusion in the middle and make sure, as best as you can, everybody is, treated fair and square. So tough topic to talk about. We hope to have some better, lighter topics to talk about in the future, but we'll be back with the Englebert Angle in the future. We'll talk to you soon.